coming out of the pressure on this one. Out of the prisons on this one. I know the pressure on this one. It's kinda high, I ain't gonna lie, but we coming out of anxiety. Sick and tired of hiding. Good God Almighty, you didn't die, so we could have anything less than more life. More life. Yeah. More life to my thing. More life to my thing.
Shopping assistance. Your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Are you feeling stuck in your career and unsure of your next move? Or are you a growing business struggling to manage people and build the right team? Hire and Thrive Consultancy is ready to support you. We help professionals stand out through resume revamps, LinkedIn optimization, interview preparation, and career coaching so you can show up confidently and competitively in today's job market. And for small and medium-sized businesses, we provide HR audits and optimization along with recruitment support to help you build strong, compliant, and effective teams. Ready to grow with clarity and confidence? Email us at hireandthrive@gmail.com. Connect with us on Instagram at Hire and Thrive or follow our WhatsApp public channel, the Hire and Thrive Hub. Hire and Thrive Consultancy, because thriving is intentional.
If you're ready to build confidence, strengthen your self-worth, and create healthier relationships, you're in the right place. I offer speaking engagements, coaching, and book design to help you grow from the inside out. Check out my books on Amazon and visit Linktree to book me or start your journey today. Now let's dive in. This is where confidence meets clarity.
When people hear that someone has migrated to another country, the conversation usually revolves around things like opportunity. They talk about better jobs, safer communities, improved education, healthcare, and the chance to build a better future. But in my experience, what people don't often discuss are the invisible costs of migration. There is massive emotional, relational, and personal struggles that come with rebuilding your life from the ground up. For me, especially when I moved from Jamaica to Canada, it wasn't just simply a geographical relocation. It was a complete reconstruction of my identity, my marriage, my parenting approach, and my understanding of self-care. While I'm grateful, though, don't get me wrong, for the opportunities that Canada has provided, the journey changed me in ways I never anticipated. So for me, migration tested three major areas of my life. It tested my marriage, it tested my role as a parent, and it tested my relationship with myself. So in navigating marriage, this is when love meets survival mode. One of the biggest misconceptions about migration is that couples naturally become stronger because they're pursuing a shared dream. That was the reality for me and my husband. We had like a solid game plan before we ever left the plane in Jamaica to come to Canada. Now, while that can be true, looking back, what's often left unsaid is how much pressure migration places on a relationship. When you move to a new country, everything, and I mean everything that is familiar to you, it just disappears. The support systems you once relied on are literally no longer easily accessible. There are no parents around the corner to help, no family, no lifelong friends to call for immediate support, and no wider community that fully understands your history. Suddenly, your spouse becomes your primary source of support, and simultaneously, they're also dealing with their own adjustment challenges. So for us, the transition in many aspects after moving here was not smooth. There were extremely difficult conversations and heavy arguments surrounding finances, our salary imbalances, household responsibilities, and just general emotional support. I came under the student program, and my husband worked while I studied. While I studied, I had a part-time job that ate all of my free time. So if I'm not studying, if I'm not at school, I'm at my part-time job, and this is on the weekends, early in the morning. My shift starts at 6 a.m. And in the middle of the week, my shift starts at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So it was really, really difficult. And then there were difficult periods where one person was earning more than the other. This happened after I graduated, and I got my first job, my first full-time job. And then the balance shifted in the household, and it created feelings of frustration, insecurity, pressure, and resentment that neither of us expected. I mean, even when we worked in Jamaica, though my husband made more, it wasn't like a significant salary bracket more than I did, but I didn't anticipate that there would be any ill feelings when that balance shifted. In my mind, I'm thinking, since we moved to a new country, a lot of shift and a lot of change is just going to be temporary. But the friction it gave rise to was unexpected. And financial stress, especially in a marriage, has a way of exposing vulnerabilities that may have been hidden before you migrated. There were questions we never needed to answer in plain sight before. For example, things like, who carries the financial burden when one person is studying and the other is working, right? How do we divide household responsibilities when both people are exhausted? How do we continue caring for one another when we're both running on empty? How do we communicate our needs without turning every conversation into conflict? The reality is that migration often places couples into survival mode. And when survival becomes the priority, connection can unintentionally become secondary. There were moments where we stopped seeing each other as partners and started seeing each other as just co-workers in the house trying to keep the house functioning. We became focused on paying bills, meeting deadlines, raising our child, and managing responsibilities. Eventually, we realized that our marriage needed intentional investment. We had to relearn in several ways how to communicate. We had to stop focusing solely on who was contributing more and instead focus on how we could support one another through different seasons of life. Most importantly, we had to learn how to reestablish love all over again. Not with the people we were before migration, but with the people we were becoming through this experience. The version of marriage that worked in Jamaica was not necessarily the version that will sustain us now that we're in Canada. We had to build a new one together. The second thing that took me through the ringer was navigating parenthood. Raising a child while, as odd as this sounds, while raising yourself. If migration challenges your marriage, parenthood magnifies those challenges even further. As parents, we arrived in a country with a completely different educational system, different social expectations, and different cultural norms. We quickly realized that our role as parents were going to extend far beyond simply helping our kid adjust. The transition forced us to re-examine our own values, and we were faced with difficult questions like, which traditions and beliefs are important for us to preserve through our child? Which aspects of Canadian culture should we allow our kid to embrace? How do we help our child integrate without losing her sense of identity? How do we prepare her to thrive in a society that may have different expectations than the ones we grew up with? So The school system here introduced new approaches to learning, communication, and social development. A lot of them I don't agree with. While there were many positive aspects, we also recognized areas where we felt it necessary to become more intentional at home. So as parents, we became increasingly aware that we could not outsource our daughters' development entirely to the educational system. And that is a stark contrast to coming from Jamaica, where we actually could just entrust the school system to handle all aspects of it, because it is rigid enough, sometimes, a bit overboard in a lot of cases, but it's rigid enough that the proof is in the pudding after they graduate. You see the results of the system. They're learning things. When they leave their institutions, there's no question on whether they were exposed in several facets. Unfortunately, in Canada, we had to fill educational gaps at home. We spent additional time reinforcing lessons, encouraging critical thinking, discussing life skills, and ensuring that our kid understood values that were important to our family. At the same time, social norms presented another challenge. As immigrant parents of a preteen, we found ourselves navigating the delicate balance between helping her adapt to her new environment and ensuring that our family's core values were not gradually erased. We wanted her to become confident enough to participate in the Canadian society while still maintaining a strong sense of who she was and where she came from. And this required ongoing conversations about patience and consistency. There were moments when our perspectives differed from what she encountered at school, online or among her friends, her peers. And those moments often led to family discussions about identity, responsibility, respect, and personal values. Migration also taught us that parenting isn't simply about protecting children from the world. It's about equipping them to navigate multiple worlds at the same time. But in many ways, our daughter was learning how to grow up in Canada. We were learning how to become parents in Canada. And finally, the last thing that shook me to my core when I came to Canada was rediscovering myself and understanding the person I left behind. Of all the challenges migration presented, the most unexpected one was losing touch with myself. In the beginning, survival consumes everything. I'm focused on finding employment, going to school, paying rent, navigating paperwork for immigration, understanding new systems, building a career, supporting my family, and simply trying to keep my head above water. And for a long time, my identity became tied to responsibility. I was someone's wife, I was someone's mother, I was someone's employee, I was someone's student, I was someone's provider. But somewhere along the way, I realized I stopped being myself. Migration has a way of stripping away familiar markers of identity. Things that once defined you, your social status, your professional accomplishments, your community involvements, friendships, your routines and support systems, they don't transfer neatly into another country. I arrived here with years of experience in software development. But before I got my first job after graduating from school here, I realized that the job market basically wanted me to start over. I arrived with so much confidence and I found myself, questioning everything. I arrived knowing exactly who I was and what the game plan was, but then I realized that the environment around me is forcing me to redefine myself. So eventually I reached a point where I knew something had to change. I needed to stop viewing self-care as a reward and started viewing it as a necessity. That realization led me to establish personal rituals that helped me reconnect with myself. Simple things became powerful acts of self-preservation. Spa days and just shopping for myself without guilt. They may seem trivial or superficial, but that's not something that I took seriously at all in my life, even before coming to Canada. Now I have the capacity to, make those a priority. When I treat myself to something with my own salary simply because I want it, rather than because the house needed it, it just shifted my whole perspective of putting myself first. I took time to enjoy my own company. I took walks alone. I created routines that belonged just to me and had nothing to do with my responsibilities. It was freeing. And these practices reminded me that I existed beyond my obligations. One of the transformative decisions that I made was seeking counseling. For many people, especially within immigrant countries, counseling is viewed as a last resort or something reserved for a crisis situation. But counseling became one of the most valuable tools in my personal growth journey since I migrated. It gave me new perspective. It gave me tools for conflict resolution. You know, in my home, it challenged beliefs and behaviors that no longer served me, and it helped me identify unhealthy coping mechanisms and replace them with healthier ones. It taught me that emotional resilience is a skill that can be developed, and it helped me understand that healing requires unlearning habits formed through stress, unlearning patterns developed through survival, unlearning beliefs that prevented me from asking for help. And I said to myself, seeking support was not a sign of weakness. It was a sign that I committed to becoming healthier emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Alongside counseling, I found myself reconnecting spiritually, going to church on my own on a regular, and it brought me immense peace. Migration shakes your sense of stability, and when everything around you feels unfamiliar, grounding yourself spiritually can provide a sense of direction. For me, my spiritual grounding became another pillar of self-care. It helped me process uncertainty. I managed the hell out of my anxiety with it. Prayer every day kept me calm and it kept me focused. And I barreled through work every single day with little to no stress. I maintained hope and I remained centered during seasons when my life felt overwhelming. And altogether, these practices helped me stabilize my mental health and reminded me that personal growth is not something that just happens accidentally. It requires intention. Now, when I look back, I realized that migration was never just about moving to Canada. It was about transformation. It tested my marriage and taught me how to love more intentionally. It challenged my parenting and taught me how to guide my daughter through multiple cultural realities. It forced me to rediscover myself beyond my responsibilities and taught me the importance of investing in my own well-being. The hidden reality of migration is that while you're building a new life externally, you're also rebuilding yourself internally. And that process is very painful. It's very lonely. It exposes cracks in relationships, challenge long-standing beliefs, and force difficult conversations. But it was also one of the most profound opportunities of growth for me. Migration taught me that starting over isn't just about creating a better future. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, and a more self-aware version of yourself along the way. It changed how I love, how I parent, how I care for myself. It requires so much self-awareness and willingness to adapt. And in that rebuilding, I discovered strengths, perspectives, and possibilities I never knew existed before.
We coming out of the pressure on this one, out of the prisons on this one. I know the pressure on this one, it's kinda high, I ain't gonna lie, but we coming out of anxiety. Sick and tired of hiding. Good God Almighty, you didn't die, so we could have anything less than more life. More life, yeah. More life to my thing, more life to my thing. Staying clear of low vibrational folks, bro. I want no parts of that low vibe you might bring. Yeah. Love the Lord with all your heart, God, your heart not fall apart. Certainly, just understand that hurt people, no such thing as perfect people. Sometimes long distance love is all it can give to certain people. If they don't know that your presence is a gift, absence might be the appropriate response. Fresh out of emotional attention, fresh out. You will not get close enough, won't let me stress out. If I don't go stoic, you gon' let me crash out. Yeah. We coming out of the pressure on this one, out of the prisons on this one.